Hey, fire up some Norman Greenbaum, a little Spirit in the Sky, because that's the song they play when they announce the starting lineups. And we're going to hear your starting lineup from our everydayers. Today, we're going to react to your lineups, the smart ones, the bold ones, and the ones that might just get you fired as manager.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day, and the #1 sports podcast network in all the land. And today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. You can use your profit boost on an NBA future bet and get entered for a chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. You can play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA.
Happy Friday to you, and thanks for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels. You've got the Frisch Brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is Jon, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother Jon.
Hey, we're talking Angels baseball with you 5 times a week. We got 2 Angels games this weekend for spring training. Trying to figure out where we're going to watch them, but they'll be playing in Tempe, Arizona. And we love talking Angels baseball with you. It's our 5th season coming up here on Locked On Angels as the host. And it's a pleasure and a privilege to be here with you talking about your favorite team and ours. On today's show, we've got some bold and outside-the-box lineups. Mike, perhaps even spicy. Who did you pick for the important spots in the order, like leadoff and cleanup? But first, Mike, let's start with a couple lineups that we like. Let's go.
Yeah. These are similar lineups, except for one difference that we're going to discuss in a second. But let's look at the first 2. Everydayer Club member Andres Jimenez. This is his lineup. Mike Trout's going to lead off. Nolan Schanuel is going to bat second. Zach Neto at third. Jo Adell cleaning up. Yoán Moncada hitting 5th. Jorge Soler hitting 6th. Josh Lowe at number 7. Logan O'Hoppe at number 8. And Christian Moore is going to be batting number 9. Now, Everydayer Club Vincent Santamaria said, I want Mike Trout leading off. Nolan Schanuel hitting second. We've got Zach Neto, Jo Adell, Yoán Moncada, Jorge Soler, Logan O'Hoppe, then Josh Lowe, and then Christian Moore at the bottom of the order. Jon, 2 lineups that I actually really think will be pretty close to perhaps what the opening day lineup will be for the Angels, and maybe the consistent lineup along the way. Now, there is a difference. There is a switch in each lineup. There is Josh Lowe in the first lineup at number 7 and Logan O'Hoppe at number 8. But in the second lineup, in Vincent's lineup, we have Logan O'Hoppe at number 7 and Josh Lowe at number 8. Do you have a preference for where you think Josh Lowe should be in this lineup and where you think Logan O'Hoppe should be in this lineup?
I actually think I prefer Vincent's lineup because I like that you get a lefty about, let's see, after 2 righties, you get a lefty. And that's actually something Everydayer Club member Dylan Summers said in his lineup that we'll look at in just a second. Mike, I think I prefer Logan at 7 and Josh Lowe at 8. And then these guys are both turning the lineup over with Christian Moore, which I think is a great spot for him, considering we want to see what he can do at the plate. But, he's a stolen base threat. He's got some wheels. He's kind of, in my opinion, Zach Neto 2.0 in that sense.
Yeah.
And so if the bat comes around for Christian Moore, what better place for him to figure that out than the 9 spot, but also be a proto leadoff guy.
Yeah.
And speaking of leadoff, Mike, I think Andres and Vince, they know the way to our heart. They knew how to get on the show, right? Because Mike Trout is leading off in this scenario, isn't he?
Yeah. And what I like about Mike Trout leading off is Christian Moore hitting 9th. And who's behind Christian Moore? Well, Mike Trout.
Right.
And it means that he's more than likely going to get pitches to hit because they're not going to want to walk him. Now, Christian Moore is going to have to be patient because they're probably not going to just throw him strikes.
And he's also going to have to be a threat on the base paths. If they're going to be afraid to pitch to him and they walk him, then you got to make him pay for it, right?
Here's what I like about those 2 lineups, Trout and Schanuel. You have on-base percentages that are 30% or more, over 300 or more, which means that you have Zach Neto with an opportunity to drive in runs, and you have Jo Adell with an opportunity to drive in runs. And what we didn't get much of last year, I know that Taylor Ward had 100 RBIs, but it should have been like 120 RBIs. depending on who's on base in front of him. And he had a lot of opportunities that he just didn't come through on. I did see a stat yesterday that I thought was interesting.
I saw it too. I know what you're going to say.
It was the strike 3 called stat. And he had, I think it was like 62 strike 3 calls that were inaccurate. They were wrong.
I think he was like one of the worst in baseball against Taylor Ward. So ABS is certainly going to come through for him.
Absolutely.
And the Baltimore Orioles just trying to save time, right?
Yeah. What I like about Jo Adell cleaning up is great, because Jo Adell is your hard home run hitter. He's the guy that's going to jack the ball wherever you need it to be. And then I like Moncada at number 5 in both of those lineups, John, because Moncada does have power, but he also is a patient hitter. I'm going to lean in the direction of putting Logan O'Hoppe at number 8. And here's why. Because I have a left-handed bat, a right-handed bat in Jorge Soler, and then a left-handed bat in Josh Lowe, and then another right-handed bat with Logan O'Hoppe. Plus, Logan O'Hoppe at number 8, I think takes the pressure off of him, at least to start offensively. I want him to be a good hitter for us, but I also want him to not feel like he's got to be the guy to come through. John, if he gets back to what he was a couple of years ago, even just a year ago, then we have a gold mine in Logan O'Hoppe. And when he was really successful when he first came up, he was at the bottom of the order. I think this is a good place for him. He can also focus on his defense. I like these lineups. I would probably lean in the direction of Josh Lowe at 7 and Logan O'Hoppe at number 8. So Andres and I, we are of the same mind.
You know, you said that this could be close to what the lineup looks like. However, I'm not confident that Mike Trout is going to be the leadoff guy, even though we would love that. And I think that Dylan Summers, another member of the Everydayer Club, provided his version of the lineup that sees Zach Neto at the top. And Dylan actually provided his reasoning for each guy in the order. So let me go through this here. He has Zach Neto leading off. He said he's the most exciting hitter for the Angels, and he is who I want at the plate for more than anyone else over the course of the season. That is accomplished by batting him in the leadoff spot. I'll circle back to that because I think Dylan makes a really good point there. Nolan Schanuel at 2, he said that gives Neto a better shot at stealing with a lefty behind him, and he will see more fastballs. That's really good reasoning, Mike, because if Schanuel is hitting to that right side of the infield, then they're either going to have to cover Neto at first base, or that first baseman is going to be off the bag a little bit, and Neto can get a little bit of a head start there. He's got Trout batting 3rd. He said, we always want to see Trout bat in the first inning, get that standing ovation, and 3 is his spot. I love that. Jo Adell at cleanup. He proved that he can hit for power. Now it's time to give him more RBI chances. I agree with that. Yoán Moncada, veteran switch hitter to break up the 2 righties before him. Jorge Soler has been productive in the past, but on a short leash at 6. He's got Logan O'Hoppe at 7. If they pitch around Soler, they'll have to deal with him. No pressure in the number 7 spot. He's got Josh Lowe at 8. He said, again, the lefty after 2 righties. And then number 9 is Christian Moore. And he said, time to figure it out, kid. And I think that is what we're going to see from Christian Moore in 2026. Mike, I said I wanted to circle back to Zach Neto because remember last year we were having this discussion and we talked about the prototypical 1 through 10 lineup. There's only 9 guys in the lineup, but in the 1 through 10 scenario, you get your leadoff guy the opportunity to bat before, I think 2 times before the 3rd inning is kind of, the goal there, or at least get him in the 1st and the 4th inning if things are, if everything's a 1, 2, 3 inning. But the 1 through 10 essentially is like, imagine Zach Neto, at the bottom of the order, but also at the top of the order. We talked about that last year with Trout and made the argument that maybe he should be the one at the top, not because of his leadoff ability, but because at that time we'd consider him, a year ago, the best hitter in the lineup. I think Zach Neto kind of takes that title now as like the best hitter, just because all around, I think that he's good. He hits for power. He can, he does strike out, but all these guys struck out last year.
Right.
But I think in terms of like making good contact, putting the bat on the ball, the guy who's going to get you a hit is Zach Neto there. So having him at 1 makes a lot of sense. What do you think is the most likely out of these 3 lineups that we looked at?
Well, I may have spoken before my brain processed. And so when I saw the first two lineups and saw Mike Trout and went down, I'm like, yeah, that's going to be it opening day. And then I realized, like, I think my heart's just getting really excited about baseball and my brain hadn't processed it yet. I think it's going to be Dylan's lineup. I think Dylan's lineup is going to be probably the one that's more prominent because that's what we saw last year. Should Kurt throw us a curveball? The only curveball I want to see is Mike Trout leading off, and that's it. I don't think that you need to take any sort of risk to start like Tim Anderson batting fifth. You don't need to do that. You need to get your right guys in the right spots. And so don't overthink this.
We're never going to let that die, are we?
No, because it's such a dumb decision. It was really a dumb decision. It was the first thing that we noticed and all of our everydayers noticed. And we're like, what is this about, right? And we want to win on opening day, and that's not going to get you a win. I don't think Kurt Suzuki needs to overthink this. I think you need to put the right guys in the right spots. I think Dylan's lineup is probably going to be the one we'll see on opening day. Although if there is any sort of curveball, Mike Trout leading off and Zach Neto switching and hitting third, I think would really be a great thing for this lineup.
Yeah, I also think Zach Neto has a perfect case to bat third as well. One thing I will say, and we'll see this as we continue on, it was all the lineups that we received, except for one, had Jo Adell at the cleanup spot. Mm-hmm. And so I think that says a lot about how fans are viewing him in this lineup. It's not as if he's the only home run guy, but he's probably the most reliable at this point to bat cleanup, and giving him the RBI chances that Dylan was talking about, I think will be pretty significant for Jo Adell. Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Coming up, how about a new leadoff hitter in 2026, plus some bold and spicy lineups? We're going to get into all of that coming right up.
Our friends at FanDuel are giving you a chance to turn your NBA dream final reality. It's going to be a reality for you. They want to get you to the NBA finals and get you there in person with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future bet, and you're going to automatically be entered into a shot to win a finals trip for two. They're going to cover the flights. They're going to cover the tickets. They're going to cover the whole experience for you. If you're already looking at the board and thinking about which team can make a deep run in the playoffs, now's the perfect time to lock that in and lock that on. and you can do this right now at FanDuel.com, place to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future bet, and you get entered in for a chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA.
This is the Locked On Podcast Network, the number one sports podcast network out there because of everydayers just like you. And baseball is back, and you can lock on by joining the Everydayer Club. It gets you ad-free episodes and access to our group chat on Discord. And for the next week or so, you can use the code SPRING, 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 for a free month of the Everydayer Club. So if you're interested, head on over to lockedonangels.supercast.com or check the link in the episode description.
All right, so we've seen lineups with Neto and Trout leading off, but what if the Angels roll with a different leadoff guy? What about Nolan, Schanuel? We're going to look at two lineups where Nolan is leading it off. The first one is Everydayer Club member Jay Mullen. He says, hey, let's start off with Nolan Schanuel leading off. Mike Trout batting second. Zach Neto hitting third. Jo Adell cleaning up. Logan O'Hoppe high in this lineup at number 5. Christian Moore at number 6. He's high in this lineup as well. Jorge Soler at 7. Moncada at 8. And Bryce Teodosio batting 9th in that first lineup. And then Everydayer Club member Logan O'Hoppe Glazer 14, a fan of the show. Love that. Nolan Schanuel leading off. Zach Neto hitting second. Then Mike Trout, Jo Adell, Jorge Soler, Yoán Moncada, Logan O'Hoppe at 7, Christian Moore at 8, and Josh Lowe at number 9. John, tell me about your thoughts on Nolan Schanuel hitting leadoff for the Angels.
It certainly makes a lot of sense considering he's an on-base guy, doesn't strike out as much as the rest of the team, and I mean, he did hit for the best average on the team last year. However, Logan O'Hoppe Glazer 14 has his reasoning for this particular lineup. He said Nolan makes the best contact on the team. He walks. He also said, I hate double plays, and Nolan hits into a lot of double plays. So perhaps starting out the game with not a chance to hit into a double play is some of the reasoning there. He did say, I know some people like Mike at leadoff, but I feel he's more useful and productive somewhere in the middle where he can still drive and run. So he's got him at number 3. And then he said Josh Lowe at number 9, because I personally like my 9 hitter as someone who can either have speed or can steal bags and reset the lineup. So with Nolan Schanuel at the top of Jay's list and Logan O'Hoppe Glazer 14's list, what do you think, Mike? Is that a reasonable suggestion here for this sort of lineup?
I think you're misusing him, is what I think. I think
in what way?
You're using a guy who can turn the lineup over. You're using a guy who is going to make contact, and you're using a guy who does have a high on-base percentage. You're using a guy who's perfect in between a really good power hitter and somebody who has a lot of speed. I get the double play critique. I get that. But this is why Nolan Schanuel is better at number 2, because you're going to have somebody with Mike Trout or Zach Neto who are more than likely going to get on and be a threat in the first inning. Trout could draw a walk. If it's Zach Neto, he's been known to hit leadoff home runs. And then Nolan Schanuel comes up. Nolan Schanuel has a good eye. Nolan Schanuel has been able to draw walks. And Nolan Schanuel is somebody who will make contact. And so if you do get a runner on and he hits the ball on the ground, then there's a potential to move that runner over. And that's really what the small ball mentality looks like for the Angels if they're going to be successful this year. And it looks like that's what Kurt Suzuki wants to do. So having him lead off, I think, takes away some of the benefit of what he could bring at number 2 in this lineup.
It's interesting to me. Jay's lineup with Nolan at the top also kind of plays a little fast and loose with the bottom half of the order. So once again, Schanuel at the top, Trout at 2, which is not unfamiliar territory from Mike Trout.
Yeah.
I do like Zach Neto at 3 in Jay's lineup. He's got Adell at cleanup. But then, and this is where it gets interesting, O'Hoppe at 5, Christian Moore at 6, Jorge Soler at 7, Yoán Moncada at 8, and Teodosio at 9. If I had to kind of bring a little conjecture to this lineup, Jay is giving the opportunity to the young guys at 5 and 6. He's putting O'Hoppe and Moore in the more important spots of the lineup than somebody like Soler and Moncada, which I think is, applause-worthy. But I wonder if it's the best version of the lineup that they could have for a team like the Angels that says, we're going to go out there and compete. Remember, you and I try to look at the lens of everything through what the Angels are trying to accomplish. However, I think in Jay's case, I think he's trying to provide more opportunities for guys like O'Hoppe and Moore. And then I think he has Teodosio at the bottom because of the idea that he's the extra leadoff guy, right? At number 9, we've seen that Teodosio has been working on bunting over the offseason, and that's something that he's going to bring to the table. And he certainly, I mean, if anybody's going to get a bunt single in this league, it's probably going to be Teodosio. I wonder, maybe that's a bold take. Like maybe he'll have the most bunt singles in baseball this year because he is certainly capable of that. But also the speed, Mike. If you get the number 9 hitter on in front of Schanuel, then maybe there's some potential to do some damage there. What do you think about Jay's lineup and my assessment of it?
He's prioritizing defense, which is why Bryce Teodosio is in there, but you're sacrificing offense. And what you can't do with this team, at least this year, is you can't sacrifice offense because they need every bat to come through. And Josh Lowe, being a left-handed bat with a history of being a major league capable hitter, and not having him in this lineup will be, I think, a detriment to the Angels because Teodosio just hasn't proven that he's been able to hit. Now he's got a small sample size and what he can do against lefties, and he was good against lefties, but I don't think that Teodosio being your regular center fielder on the offensive side is going to help this lineup. And then when I look at Jay's lineup, Jay, I'm not picking on you. I'm just looking at your lineup and just off the cuff here. But when I'm looking at this lineup, when I see O'Hoppe and Moore at 5 and 6, I think that's going to be a hole in the lineup because it's 2 bats that are trying to figure out life again.
Yeah.
And they need to figure it out, but also need some protection. I think you got to move Moncada up. If you're going to have O'Hoppe at 5, I think Moncada's got to be 6. And then if you wanted to have Christian Moore at 7, that would work. And then Soler at 8. Soler's kind of the oddball in this lineup because he could hit 45 home runs or he could hit 5 home runs, right? And that's the problem with Jorge Soler. If he's healthy, he could really be a threat in this lineup, but you just don't know where you can slot him. So that would be my pushback on Jay's lineup and some of the conversations that we're having around this potential lineup for opening day and for the season.
Yeah, Soler, I think, is going to be one of the bigger wild cards in this lineup. He gets a little bit more trust in Logan O'Hoppe Glazer's lineup at number 5, which I find interesting, but you could understand that if you miss the opportunity to have Jo Adell do something at the cleanup spot, then you want a Jorge Soler at number 5. Mike, I think if I were to make an adjustment there for O'Hoppe's lineup, is I would put Moncada at 5, simply because you get a lefty bat in most situations, right? You get a lefty bat, and we all know that when he bats from the left side, the home run potential is just through the roof. Okay, coming into this season, and I think that brings up a good point, who are you trusting more right now? Is it Moncada or is it Soler in a crucial moment or to at least do some damage at the plate? What do you say, Mike?
Moncada, just because he has a good eye and because he's got the history. Just last year was a guy that, remember, he didn't get a hit for like the first few games, but he had an on-base percentage of almost 350.
Yeah, he was walking. He was like the only guy walking last season.
He was drawing walks. And then when things started to click for him, he started to make contact and hit some home runs. And he had some big home runs for us in crucial moments in the game. I don't trust Jorge Soler at all. And so even at DH, like, okay, if you're going to have him in there, then have him DH. I just don't want him anywhere else. If he's going to be in there, DH. And then if I'm Kurt Suzuki, I'm watching him very, very closely. And I'm going to have a quick hook because he is somebody that could be a hole in this lineup. Now, if he gets off to a great start, that changes the narrative. But Soler is notorious for not getting off to a great start. He's better in like later months, second half, at least historically. So I'm not trusting him too much. I'm trusting Moncada more. And because Moncada is going to be at third base, you get a double bonus with him in the infield and then him in the lineup. With Soler, you're just not sure what you're going to get, especially if he's in left field or if he's in right field. The guy really, his body broke down because he was doing both.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting year considering they're trying to manage Mike Trout in center field, probably give Soler more DH opportunities. You also kind of wonder on the days that Mike Trout DHs, which I'm sure those are going to happen as far as what Kurt Suzuki has said and just the communication he wants to have with Mike Trout throughout the season. What happens to Soler? Is he end up in left field, but does that supplant like a Josh Lowe, or do they put Teodosio in center? They try Josh Lowe in center. So there's a lot of options there. I
just don't think Teodosio is on the opening day roster. I think that it's going to be like the fourth outfielder is probably going to be like Jose Siri, or going to be, it's going to be somebody like that. I think that's why they brought those types of players in. I don't think Teodosio is going to be on the opening day roster. I think we might see him this year, but I think that they're looking to maybe have him do some work in AAA or AA, wherever they put him, and then bring him up later. They want to use major league caliber guys. Plus, Teodosio is going to be sitting a lot. And unless you're bringing him in as a defensive replacement all the time, which isn't a bad idea, but I think you want this guy to develop fully defensively and offensively. He really needs to just work on his offense. So put him in AAA, let him go to Salt Lake, let him, knock the cover off the ball and learn how to hit. And then you can bring him up and be the guy that you want him to be, because the Angels have that, get this, they have that flexibility because they have a lot of outfielders. And so they don't need to rush him up. They don't need to put him in there. The same is not true of Christian Moore. We've talked about it a lot. And what I love about these two lineups is that he's in the lineup, and that's where he needs to be.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's got to have all the opportunity that he can get. And when it comes to Teodosio, maybe there's a little something to him building up some confidence in AAA. We all know the ball flies around that yard, and the numbers can be a little bit inflated, but good numbers are going to give you a nice little confidence boost. And I think that's what Bryce Teodosio could use at the plate.
Workplace chaos and deadlines stacking up and inbox overflowing, and the one position that you have to fill is still sitting open. When the pressure's on you and you need a right hire, this is a job for sponsored jobs. Indeed, sponsored jobs helps you to reach the right people who actually fit what you're looking for, so you're not just hoping you get the right candidate and they stumble across your post. Here's a really great stat. In the minute or so that I've been talking to you, companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all of your boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. And listeners of Locked On Angels will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now. Support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on Locked On Angels. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions do apply. If you're hiring, this is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs.
Mike, do you like bold?
I like going bold at Del Taco when I go to Del Taco. Yeah.
Okay. Do you like spicy?
Spicy. Sometimes it makes my nose get sweaty when I eat spicy. Yeah.
Well, how about bold and spicy?
Let's try it. Let's put it together. Maybe that'll be helpful for you.
All right, bold and spicy like a burrito. Let's go. We've got some bold and spicy lineups. We're going to start out with Trevor Chilcote, who sent us his lineup, and also he has some reasoning behind it. Mike, listen to this. Leading off, Jorge Soler, Mike Trout batting second. Josh Lowe is batting third. Jo Adell is at cleanup. Zach Neto is at number 5. Yoán Moncada at number 6. Christian Moore at number 7. Nolan Schanuel at number 8. And Logan O'Hoppe at 9. Now, you're probably already reacting, but let me read Trevor's reasoning here. He said, for power, Soler, Trout, Adell, and O'Hoppe give you 4 legit home run threats spread throughout. So it's not so much like I'm putting O'Hoppe at 9 because he stinks. It's I want a home run threat at the bottom, in the middle, and at the top. The on-base distribution is another reasoning he had. He said Trout, Lowe, Moncada, and Schanuel give you 4 table setters in different spots. For athleticism, he said Adell, Neto, and Moore add speed and range. And then this is a word that you like, Mike, lengthening the lineup. No dead spots in this lineup. What do you think of Trevor's lineup here? Is it bold? Is it spicy? Is it both? Or is this the kind of lineup that gets you fired?
I think this is a lineup that is bold. And so I'm going to tip my cap to Trevor on this one. I don't want to see this lineup from Kurt Suzuki, because this feels like you're playing too much with this lineup. You're digging too deep into the sand, right? I love the reasoning behind it. I think that this is a lineup when you are struggling. I think this is a lineup when you gotta change some things up, but don't do it yet. And so, Trevor, I think you should hold on to this, and then maybe like May, send an email to the Angels and go, here, this is a lineup that's going to work for you.
Hey, Kurt, here's the lineup that you should be rolling with right now. Exactly.
Yes. So. And I think that's going to be when you might see a lineup like that. I love the boldness behind it, and I love the reasoning. Trevor, thank you for the reasoning, because it does solidify power. It does solidify on base percentage, the distribution all the way through, athleticism, and then my favorite phrase, lineup length. There isn't a dead spot. You have somebody that, if they're struggling, somebody behind them is going to pick them up.
Yeah, very interesting. I'm not a fan of Lowe at batting third.
Yeah.
Especially considering how his 2 years have gone. I would probably have Neto in that third spot, but then that would move Lowe to 5 in front of Moncada, which would be essentially 2 lefties if Moncada is batting left-handed that day. So I think that you could serve to mix things up a little bit. Mike, JKno89 on YouTube said, I got a spicy lineup. Why don't you read that one out for us?
Yeah, he wants Zach Neto leading off, Jorge Soler batting second, Jo Adell at third, Nolan Schanuel cleaning up, Yoán Moncada hitting 5th, Josh Lowe, number 6, Logan O'Hoppe, number 7, Christian Moore, number 8, John, Mike Trout batting number 9
Excuse
in this lineup. Now, he does have some explanations, doesn't he? You want to share those?
Yes, I can share those. He said it's pretty crazy, but I was looking at Soler's 2023 highlights, and he was batting second a lot. He said it could be a breakout opportunity. I think this lineup isn't meant to have the best three start the game, but to flip over late, with Mike being a catalyst to Zach and Soler. He said heavy emphasis on trying to generate offense rather than relying on the home run. Mike, there is a crucial point here, and he's correct about Soler batting at the top of the order for a lot of his career. In fact, remember last year they tried that a couple of times. The reason being is because Jorge Soler, before last year, his entire career outside of this first 2 years, he's had double-digit walk rates over from 2016 to 2024. And at that point in time, he would have been the best walker on this team. Yeah. And so they did give that a shot last year. I don't think it ended up being as effective as they had hoped, but there is a case to be made to have Jorge Soler at the top. It just, I guess it depends on how you want to use him. And so what the point Jay is making here is he's trying to emphasize generating offense rather than relying on a home run. Maybe in that scenario, you're not relying on Jorge Soler to smack you a bunch of home runs at the top of the lineup, but just to be a guy who gets on base. What do you think?
Yeah, I think when you mentioned Jorge Soler being at the top of the order last year and they tried it, the definition of the Angels trying things is one game and it doesn't work and they move on, right?
Right, true.
I think if they're going to try a lineup like this, they need to give it time. They need to give it a few weeks and see what happens. Now, I think Jay Cano would get a lot of social media heat if this was the lineup he rolled out with Mike Trout batting ninth. I think fans would eat him alive. I think they would be frustrated with him. And I think Jay Cano would need to just fold his arms and say, just let it play out. Let it play out.
And what I like, spicy. He said it was spicy.
What I like about the spicy lineup is that he gave a reason for it, which both of our lineup suggestions in this segment, they gave reasons for it, and they're logical and they're reasonable, something the Angels just don't do. They didn't say, I really like this guy in that spot, but we got definitions, we got clarity, we got here's why this person should be there. So that's why I love the out of the box thinking. And I get it. I know that I'm a guy that's like, hey, Kurt Suzuki, don't get crazy with this. Don't go nuts with this. But we are a team that hasn't been to the playoffs in a long, long time, 12 years, friends. So maybe messing with the lineup and saying, hey, Trouty, you are hitting ninth is going to help this team to wake up and get back to the playoffs.
Maybe it'll make Mike Trout wake up at the plate too and be like, I'm not doing this again. I gotta work my way out of this ninth spot. And I think that's my only issue with that is having Trout down at the 9 spot. I get what Jay's going for here. But I just, in a realistic world, I just don't think that that's going to fly, especially in a world where he's already like, hey, I want to play center field. And Kurt Suzuki, first year manager, is like, sure. Yes, sir. Right. And so to have him at the 9 spot, I just don't think it would be a realistic situation, but you could also make the case that maybe if you move that around and move Trout up, you could shift the rest of that lineup down. And maybe Jay's got something there. I think that would be really interesting. So if you didn't get a chance to share your lineups, head on over to YouTube, get in the comments section, because we'd love to respond to your lineups today and throughout the weekend before we get to spring training games on Saturday.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Be sure to like and subscribe and follow Locked On Angels so that you get all of the latest episodes. And if you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built just for you. Get Locked On Angels ad-free, plus members-only Discord access and so much more. And for the next week or so, you can use the promo code SPRING for a free month. Head to lockedonangels.supercast.com to join the club.
I feel like we need to say it like swing, like spring, right? Hey, give us a follow on Twitter at Locked On Angels and connect with Mike and I on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Super Halo Bros. Mike, it's the weekend we've been waiting for. We get actual baseball, don't we?
Yeah, I bought a telescope to watch the games from Southern California.
Like Looney Tunes style? Like,
Yes. Yeah.
Who is the alien? Marvin Martian?
Yes. We have eyes on the ground in Arizona that are going to send us some really good details. We obviously will be paying attention on the radio side and StatCast. We're nerds. We get it. And we're
Both
going to
games
give
will be
you.
on this weekend, too, because
Yes.
they're playing Dodgers and Diamondbacks. So I'm pretty sure both games will be on.
Dodgers. I can't wait to hear Vince Scully. It's going to be great. Well, Locked On Angels, we're going to describe all of the games, all the details on Monday.
You're going to say dig them up again like you did yesterday. All right, friends. We hope you have a great weekend. Until Monday, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
All right, all you sickos who love this team and all the everydayers who love to watch and listen, we'll see you back here on Monday.
Dig them up again.
I'm here in Tempe, Arizona,
Hey.
where the Angels are not on TV.